Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Coin. I've got Tay, resident DJ, head of marketing, on the podcast with me today.
Resident DJ. That's definitely the first time I've gotten coined that title.
I had that introduction planned. Did you like it?
Loved it.
You are a resident DJ.
I know. Yeah, my two songs per four songs per Well Circle. Where you get to listen to a minute each of them.
People love that. It's when you're on a call with 200 some odd women, it's nice to come back to some upbeat vibes. And Lord knows if I was picking, it'd be all Beyonce and like really old music. So you're in the know, and it's great. Okay. So we wanted to record a podcast today on really just what managing our financial life looks like. I thought that it would be an interesting episode because we have both been doing this work for a long time, not just working at a financial education company focused on women building wealth, but building our own as well the whole time. And so we talk about money at our company all the time with each other, our goals. Obviously, our life goals have financial components to them. So we're very comfortable with money, and every person's financial situation is different. For instance, Taylor is in a relationship, but her finances are not coupled with her partner. And I am in a relationship, marriage, where we have chosen to join all of our accounts. So one thing I say in the Well Circle all the time is personal finance is just that. It's so personal. And then people are like, well, what do you mean? Like, aren't there things that we should all be doing? And it's like, yeah, there's basics. And that is why we built a course around investment fundamentals that you need to know and be comfortable with. But ultimately, how you decide to manage your financial life is going to be unique to you. So I thought it'd be fun to just share how we both manage our financial lives on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis.
Totally. I don't think I have quite all of those, but I have a good chunk of them.
And even sharing some of the apps that we use, some of the favorites from our wealthy women's community. So let's get into it. Shall we?
We shall.
Okay. So maybe just give me a little rundown of how your financial life is currently set up. I'll do the same, and then we can get into more, unique components.
Cool. So maybe I'll be helpful. I'll start with just kind of like my account structure, and I guess just like a few other things that I think might be helpful background. So accounts wise, I have a pretty standard checking account where all my money comes in every month. That's through Chase. I have a savings account with Ally, which has a bunch of different buckets in it that I'll talk about, I'm sure, later on. And then I have 3 different accounts with Fidelity, just a regular brokerage account, a Roth IRA, and a simple IRA. And then I have my Factorial 401k through not Gusto. What's
Guideline.
Through Guideline, one of those G names. So those are my major financial accounts. And then outside of that, I guess really the only other super relevant thing is that I have a mortgage. We don't, like you said, I don't split finances with my partner, but we did buy the house together. So we are partnered on that, I guess. But everything else we keep pretty separate. Tools wise, I also keep it pretty simple. I want to be a budgeting girly who looks at my little Copilot app all the time, and I really have a hard time with it. It's set up, it does its thing. I'm not super consistent about checking in, but I have it, and I do think it can be useful for kind of big picture, looking at spending on a monthly basis. So I have that. And then mostly what I use, I've created my own little database inside of Notion, where I track monthly income, because mine is kind of variable. And then I track how much I save each month, how much I invest each month, where that's going, and kind of account balances there. And then do I check anything else on that? Oh, just like my saving and investing rate, because I kind of just like to watch how that's going up and down on a monthly basis. So yeah, basic account structure, Copilot, Notion. That's kind of where everything is living at the moment.
I'm sitting here feeling jealous because I wish that I had less accounts and a more simplified financial life, but I got a husband and a daughter involved, so we have a ton of accounts. And I will just say, before I kind of share my account structure, it was worse before we got married because I was so into finance that every time I opened up or tried an account, I urged that my partner did so too. So because it was just a mess. So because it was a mess in that I really like to test and vet products, especially anything that I'm going to share my experience on with the community, because I know that that can be weighted more heavily. And so I would, open up one robo-advisor to try it, and then so would Jake. And then we just had so many accounts. We were like, we've got to collapse this. And even though we did, and they're all joint, it's still a lot.
I to be fair, like I recently, at the end of like maybe mid 2023, I think I closed like 3 kind of extra accounts that had just been like, I had a Titan account that was just kind of floating around that I didn't love. I had a Fundrise account, like a REIT investment app that I was using for a while that was just kind of sitting there. Like, so I don't know. I had a few other things floating that were just like annoying. And I was like, all right, let's just like condense.
I'm actually glad we're bringing this up because I think that it is definitely a big piece of the Well Circle journey. Women come in, they use our spreadsheets and tools to get a baseline of where they are. We have a great net worth spreadsheet. We have something called a lifestyle analysis. A net worth spreadsheet is going to do just that. It's going to be adding up your total assets that you own, subtracting the total liabilities that you're obligated to, and then the difference is going to be your net worth, whether negative or positive. And we have all of our tools so that you can do them as an individual or as a household, or copy the tab and do it as both. I have plenty of women who like to see, well, what's just mine? And if we were to get married, what is ours? Okay. That is how much you have, right? But then your lifestyle analysis is really what is your outflow? Like, what are your expenses in a month and how much dollars are you directing to each of those? So there's fixed expenses, the ones you have to pay for. There's flex expenses, the ones you want to pay for. And then there are those debt obligations. And then the most exciting part, usually the part that's forgotten about until you take a Well Circle, is the saving and investing piece that a lot of people do last with what they have left over. And the women who take the Well Circle flip that on its head when they learn that literally the difference between regular people and millionaires is that they pay themselves first and they set up account structures and automations to save and invest first. So what Taylor's sharing right now is basically that when you go through the Well Circle, it's so fun to start opening some accounts and testing with them because you're trying to save and invest in all the ways. And then ultimately, it's nice to reassess and reconfigure your account structure when it makes sense. So Titan is an app that got a lot of popularity inside the Factora Slack channel. It's kind of like a modern hedge fund that retail investors like us can get access to. Fundrise is, like she said, a REIT, so it's access to real estate investing without having to hold the real estate yourself, etc. So many women try these things and then they're like, yeah, I like that. I'm going to do more of that. Or I don't like that. I'm going to consolidate and make my financial life a little simpler. But I truly believe that there is no, you just can't get experience without doing it yourself. So it's so worthwhile to try opening these accounts and doing things. Okay. All of that to say, I did just want to point out one other thing I heard you say, which is that you track your expense management on Copilot, another Factora favorite. People use the lifestyle analysis once, but we don't hook up to any of your accounts. All of your stuff is private. We're education. We're not trying to look at your bank ledgers. And so a lot of women, after doing that, actually want an in real time platform. And so for expense management, Taylor uses Copilot, which a lot of people use because it's good for partners. Do you guys use that in partnership? No, you use it on your own. Okay. Yeah. And then the opposing one that you hear about a lot is Monarch, which is the one I use. And I do use that with my husband, although he's never logged in other than when I've shown it to him.
I did. When you started talking about it, I went and looked at it, and I actually do think I like it a bit better. I like the kind of cash flow page that Monarch offers, and Copilot doesn't have that as easily accessible. But I think I'm still riding out my like year-long Copilot membership, so we're gonna stick to it at least until that's done, and then maybe I'll
it is such a benefit of the community, because I was looking for a new expense management platform recently too, and I went to the community. I was like, what are you using? And you saw so many women reviewing both, and based on their reviews and a little bit of my own research, I picked Monarch, and I've been really happy with it. It's not a breeze to set up, but it's really great functionality when you take the time to do it. And now I'm seeing a lot of people complain that Copilot gets a little buggy and, whatever. The point is it's just nice to have a community to talk about all this stuff with and get shared resources and experience from. Totally. So, okay, my situation looks like this. I do it all. So we have all of our checking, both personal checking and residential checking through Capital One, meaning for all of our real estate properties, they all have separate checking accounts. They have separate savings accounts. That's where we hold the deposits and save for taxes, which we have outside of our mortgages. I'm not going to get too much into real estate today, but we got a lot of accounts. And then for savings, we also use Ally, such a crowd favorite of Factora, although there's a bunch of other amazing ones. Ally just has something cool called bucketing. So within one account, you can, let's say, have an emergency fund and say $40,000 is for actual emergencies, can't touch. Another $10,000 is for saving up for the HVAC I think I need to replace, or however you want to bucket that, which is pretty cool without having to establish additional accounts because it's within one. And then we have all of our investing in traditional paper assets through Charles Schwab. We also consolidated a bunch of, we had Betterment, we had Titan, we had a number. And then we have all of our crypto through Coinbase.
Crypto.
I know. And I'm trying to think if we have any other. Those are the main ones. We got mortgages with a lot of different financial institutions, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I didn't count that.
Yeah. Okay. So talk to me a little bit about what your financial maintenance looks like. Like, how often are you? Oh, I also wanted to comment on you using Notion. So Notion is basically like a sexy Google Word, right? Google Docs.
Like a notes like database system.
But when I say sexy Google Docs, I mean like you can drop down, you can make it pretty, you can add things you can't do. So I think what I'm assuming is what I use an Excel spreadsheet for, or a Google spreadsheet. So you just see the months, like what's the total in this savings and investing bucket?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's very similar. Like if you were to create a Google sheet that just had a bunch of different filter options, like I can toggle to see things by month. I can toggle to see income, I'll get into it in a second, but basically, just a big database. And I have one quote unquote database for each year. So I started doing this in 2022. So this is now my third kind of like annual database that I have. And it's nice to be able to go back and look at them kind of all big picture.
I didn't realize that. You've been doing this on Notion since 2022?
Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah. Okay. Talk to me about your financial maintenance.
Okay. So daily, like I don't really do anything particular, but I do have on both my credit cards, I have like email notifications set up, right? So anytime I spend over $1, which is basically anything I spend money on, I get an email notification. So that's just like mostly out of like safety to make sure like my card's not being randomly used on shit. Also, I think it is kind of like a nice like spending tool just that like every time you swipe your card, then you also get a ping back in your email telling you exactly how much you just spent on what. So it's just kind of like a reality check. Like, we're cool. That's what we're doing. So that's like the only thing I really do on a daily basis. Like I said, weekly, I try to get into Copilot, kind of review the transactions and just like you can tag them right by category. So I just make sure they're categorized the right way. And yeah, that's kind of it on a daily and weekly basis, like not getting into anything too intense there. I'm certainly not checking my investments on a daily or a weekly basis, like to see if they're going up and down. So that's just, we kind of just let that ride. And then monthly is where most of my like maintenance, I think, comes in. So once a month is when I update my Notion database. So like I'll go back through Copilot, kind of just high level, make sure everything looks good and just see if I'm like went super high over in any category, under. I know some people use these apps like to look at their investments and stuff as well. I primarily just use it to like keep an eye on my spending. So yeah, mostly just reviewing my spending categories to see if we're on track, off track, what I could adjust going forward. But then the fun part, I think, is looking at my income. So like I said, I have kind of a few different income sources. Obviously, I get a salary from Factora. If you've listened to me on the pod before, you've heard this spiel, but I also own equity in a small fitness business in Austin. So I get distributions from that almost every month. And then I also teach at the studio, so I get paid for teaching. So I'll go through and categorize all my income from those three streams. And then what do I do after that? And then I just, so my savings investments mostly are set up on automation, right? So like a part of my paycheck every month from Factora goes into my checking, or like most of it, I think I have it 80-20. So 80% goes into my checking account, 20% goes straight to my Ally savings account. So that's done automatically. But then in Notion, I still go back and like mark that was put into savings. And then distributions from Pure typically either go straight into Ally or into my brokerage account. That is not automated just because I have to save taxes from that bulk amount. So it hits my checking account, and then when it happens, usually on that day, if I'm present, I will just like do it then. So I'll send like 25-ish% to kind of taxes saving bucket, and then the rest, whether I'm trying to fill a savings goal or an investing goal, I'll put it to one of those two accounts. So then when I'm doing my monthly review, I just like mark where that money went that month. And then same thing for investments. Not like that exciting, but it's kind of fun to see like at the end, and then I get to calculate like, okay, this is how much I earned this month. It just does a little sum for me in each table, and then how much I saved and invested, and then I get to calculate my little savings rate, which this year has been fun because in January it was 57%, and February it was 70%. Like,
oh my God. Okay. I'm so
it's not sustainable, and it will not be that high in March, but like we just had a low spend month in February. So we were just like shuffling things over. But
okay, but that's so incredible for you to just share on this podcast, because so many women start the Wealth Circle and we talk about saving and investing rates and how the higher you can get them, especially your investing rate, because that's sometimes you're saving to then invest in something, right? Like maybe you're saving up for a house, but most of the time when you're investing, you're just doing a monthly amount to your investment accounts. And the higher you can get that is correlated to the sooner you can come out of the workforce, or at least have the option or far more flexibility. And so a lot of women come in and they realize they're saving and investing less than 10, 5, sometimes none of their income. And then we tell them Factora women often get that up above 30, 35. We see 50%. And they're just like, there's no way I could invest that much. And you're doing 70% this month and 57% last month. So I'm like, it is such proof that it can be done. And it doesn't have to be done for the rest of your life. I love the idea of short-term pain for long-term gain. And I think when you understand how important and potentially exponential investing is, and you get more confident doing it, you want more money working for you. So it's a lot easier to say, I am going to not buy this so I can buy myself more freedom, because that's exactly what you're doing when you're investing. Okay, that was really helpful. Let me go through mine. So since I use Monarch for my spending management, and similar to you, I only use it for that. I don't have all my investments loaded in there. I just don't think platforms that try and do everything do it all well. And that's okay. I appreciate that. That's why I think Factora is really good at what we do. Like we just do this one thing. We take women from being confused and overwhelmed by investing to feeling really excited, clear, and ready to be investing now and more ASAP. So I check my Monarch daily because it literally emails me when I have an expense that I don't have a rule written for. It says something's uncategorized, and it takes me 1 second to go in there and categorize it. On a weekly basis, Monarch actually has a really cool thing where it just prompts you and it says like, how was your spending this week? And so I'm like, you tell me, how was it?
How was it?
To income to spending, like, let's see. And so it does that on a weekly basis. It also does it really great on a monthly. And then I use a separate app called Kubera for where I store all my invested assets, my real estate, my stock market, my alternatives, including cryptocurrencies. And so on there, I can go and look at my net worth in real time at any time. And I probably do that once every other week.
Nice.
And then monthly, the other thing I do besides that Monarch, like how did the month go? I meet up with my life partner and husband, and I take
up with, because you guys don't live together,
Yes, but it's like a designated meeting. Like this is a Grosick family financial meeting. How are we doing? And we take it seriously. And so I transfer all of our Monarch categories, top line numbers into our own portfolio. It's just a Google Excel document. It's got the high level everything, our fixed expending, our flex expenses, etc. And I have already budgeted what I want them to be, and now I'm looking at what the actual was. So that's our come to Jesus, so to speak. If we are over on we're doing a bathroom renovation right now, like, are we over? Of course we are. How over? And what is that going to change about next month priorities?
Yeah.
And then the other thing I do on a monthly basis is I meet up with my accountability partner, who, shout out Renee, was in maybe the 4th Well Circle. And we're recent accountability partners just as of this year. But
I thought you were going to say Steph.
Well, Steph and I have changed our accountability partner meetings to like pickleball and getting our nails done. So I was not getting what I needed from that accountability partner.
This is just a friend date now.
Exactly. I mean, we always talk about goals and money, but it's not as structured. And Renee said she was looking for one. And did I know of anyone? And I think she was just asking me before she went to the Slack channel. And I was like, how about me? She was like, oh, would you want to? And I was like, sure. And hers are so structured and good. It's phenomenal. So we've had some good first few meetings and we're both using Monarch, and we're new to it. She's switching off of Mint, which shut down. And I think that's why there's been such a overload into the main 3, Monarch, Copilot, and YNAB, which stands for You Need a Budget. But we both had chosen Monarch separately, and now we are teaching each other our little learnings. So that's been great.
Okay.
And then on a quarterly basis, I just do a few-hour goal planning session with my husband, because I think it's really important for us to feel inspired, be future looking, especially now with a kid. Are we on the same page for the bigger things we want to do? And that's really it. Probably annually we do that, but a little more extensive for like the year. What went well, what didn't, what financial goals did we deprioritize? Do we want to reprioritize them for the year ahead? And I'd say it's probably only, 20 hours per year, which if you were to divide that into how many hours per year, it's about 0.2% of your time devoted to your finances that can produce such big results. And I want to be clear, it's 0.2% of my time now. For women who are going through the Wealth Circle, they're going to have 35 to 40 hours just on the Wealth Circle alone that year. And then they're probably going to do another 20 plus hours on top of that. But after that, like where Taylor and I are right now, we joke about this all the time too, is like, our money's so boring. Like all the accounts are set up, all the automations are done, and this is probably the biggest one, mindset shifts have been made that we understand and care so much about investing for future us now that there's not that much to do.
Yeah. I'm like, it's fun, like filling out my little database once a month, but I'm like, I'm not really doing anything. Even like, I finally like this year, like looked at my like IRAs and stuff, just like how they were balanced. And I was like, should I change something? I was like, honestly, like they're doing pretty good. Like I don't need to change them just to change them. So like, we're just gonna let them keep riding out. Like,
yeah, that's another good point too. We always talk in the Wealth Circle about rebalancing, which is something that a lot of these tools do for you. But if you are DIYing, at a discount brokerage yourself, you should look at it at least annually. And I feel very similarly. I'm like, I like my concentration, my allocation. It's performed at 13% last year. Why am I going to change it? But I looked at it, I understand it, and then I move on. So we always say good investing is pretty boring. I mean, great investing is super boring. For sure. Because the good investing, if it includes real estate, that shit ain't boring at first. That's hard work and active before you can get it to a passive place. But all investing is worth it. And financial management is a key part of knowing your numbers and feeling confident so that you don't have to be scared when you look at your accounts or fearful of what's happening behind the scenes, because like I love checking my credit score. I'm always in the 800 club. It feels fucking great.
I finally crossed over at the end of last year, and I was like, okay, well, this is it.
This is it.
What do I do now? I'm kidding. I have plenty to do, but like,
I'm financially self-actualized.
Yeah,
I'm
right?
in the credit card 800 club.
So it's like such a silly, I mean, obviously it's helpful, but feels like a little bit of a silly benchmark sometimes, but I will take it. Mine's always been a little higher than Harry's. Shh, don't tell him I said that. And
Jake and I do the same. We compete over it.
I'm like, I don't really, like, it's not like I'm doing anything much better than he is. It's just like at some point, some luck of the draw, I got a little boost and have clung on to it.
So good. Well, I hope that this has been a helpful episode to listeners. I know we threw around a lot of financial platforms at you. We typically don't do that on a podcast because you're, I don't know, driving or walking and hopefully not stopping to look all these up. But, the ones that caught your attention, give them a look-sees. Otherwise, come and take the Wealth Circle. And we talk about all of them in the Factora Slack community. But Tay, thanks for always transparently sharing financially to our audience whatever I suggest.
Anytime. Always fun to be on the pod.
Appreciate you.
Bye, y'all.